Hello, welcome to Travel with Austin. I'm Austin. Today we are going to be revisiting our exploration of the abandoned Fort Rapids Indoor Water Park and Resort, going through every part of the building we shot. So without further ado, let's get started. We begin our exploration in the water park area. Now, although I am a local to this area and actually did come here as a kid, I want to give a little bit of history first that I did not know. So, this wasn't always a water park. In fact, it was originally just a hotel. The 12-story tower that exists at the location was the hotel. One of the companies that owned it back when it was just a hotel was the Hilton, and it was a Hilton hotel and is even featured in a movie called Burbacker, where they used some of the inside conference rooms and hallways for a few scenes. The water park was actually added on later, although for me, that is all I know this place as because I lived way too close to stay here, and the only times I visited were for the water park. So, right now, we are exploring the kids' area. You can see there's a horse here with a hat on, which is just, I don't know, I found it funny, but also kind of cute. Um, so, yes, this would have been for like the younger kids, basically not even a foot deep in most spots. And, it was just meant to be like the safer area for them, and their parents could come and guide them so that they had a place to play while their older siblings got to play in the actual water park section. And you can see there's a bunch of like cool little toys there. There were some slides and stuff, all meant for younger children. So as we come out here, there is also where the spa slash hot tub area was. And again, this is completely drained now. The whole park is, of course. But, that was more of an adults area where they could enjoy the hot tubs. And then we have the racer slides here that would go up outside the building and then end there. Now, my friend Lucy did actually try to slide down them to see if they would still work. And yeah, without water, they're just normal slides, so kind of a bummer, but whatever. Now, I should say off to the right, in an area you can't see, there is actually a little 3-story section, part underground, part level, and then another story that contains some of the old systems of the water park. The top level contained the HVAC systems and also, for some reason, a tanning bed. The ground floor level was mostly just an empty area where you could either take the stairs up or down to get to the other levels. Then the downstairs levels contained things like pumps, probably chlorine injectors, things like that. Lots of old machines that, of course, are long turned off and that we don't understand. You can see some of these slides here that, again, the slides here go outside the building and then come back in, which even when this place was in use, that did make me uncomfortable. But now that it is abandoned, that makes me even more uncomfortable. You can see some YouTube videos where people have walked down the inside of the slides, which to me is kind of crazy. It's not something I would do. I would be way too scared. Um, so now we are walking across the bridge and looking out onto that lazy river. You can also see part of the toilet bowl slide, as I call it, where basically you would come down, spin around the inside in your inner tube, and then you would be flushed out. So that is one of the slides that I never rode here. In fact, I'm pretty sure I only ever rode the slides that emptied into the lazy river. As you can see, these stairs that go up to the slides are very tall. I believe that this building is technically 3 stories tall. Of course, it is all one big open building. So I'm not a huge fan of heights, and we did not climb up there during our exploration, although I kind of wish we did just so we could have got a better view. Now here is another one of the pump rooms here, and this one is actually much smaller, and even with the flashlight on, you can see it is very dark down here. So basically there were just some old pumping machines and stuff down there, along with some deflated inner tubes and stuff like that. Not much else to see. So we're going to make our way back up and back out into the water park. And again, you can see even more of these deflated tubes here. Um, Here was a little sitting area, possibly could be reserved for events. I'm not 100% sure. I do know that if you look back in the back, there are some cabanas that you could rent out for things like birthdays and stuff, and party rooms, stuff like that. Now, there were also conference rooms that we did not get on camera, sadly. So there's another look at the toilet bowl slide, as I call it. And then here's just kind of like one of the free swim pools, I guess you could call it. So it kind of has a few different areas. You can see way off in the back there, there are basketball hoops where you could, shoot basketballs into the water. Then there is kind of just an empty area where you could relax and swim around. And then here is my favorite part of the water park. So back in the day, these little sheriff badges would float up, and you would basically try to cross from one side to the other without slipping and falling in. It was kind of like its own version of Wipeout. You can see there was a net that you could hang on to. You could also try to do it without the net. From what I remember, I was extremely good at that. And honestly, it was something I had a lot of fun doing and was probably my favorite part of the actual water park. Now, there's also some disability equipment here where someone who was disabled could get into that pool, which is really cool. You know, Disability access is always super important, and I honestly don't remember anything like that here, so it is cool to know that they did have that. Of course, unfortunately, it will no longer be used since this place has been shut down for over 10 years. Now, here is the lazy river. Um, if you haven't already noticed, this place has a Western theme. One of the things in the theme was cowboys and Indians, and you can see there are supposed to be some Native American huts in here. You've also seen a few times that there have been Native American statues that sadly have all been vandalized and most of them beheaded, which is very disrespectful and very weird. So take a look around there, and then there is another one of the statues that was beheaded. I don't think the head was in this area. We did find a head in the lobby at one point. Now over here is actually the mascot head. So this is the mascot for Fort Rapids, and this would have been the head that was worn. Yeah, it's not the most impressive thing in the world, but hey, there it is. And so we continue on the lazy river. You can see that there were little buckets of water that would fill up and pour on you while you were in the lazy river, stuff like that. And we're going to go ahead and exit, and we are going to take a look now at the playground section, basically. So you can see it has some slides of its own. I'm pretty sure I rode most of these slides as a kid when I went there, because they weren't as tall or scary. Now, this, again, has been abandoned for about 10 years, so we're not going to walk on everything, because I was not sure what was stable and what was not. You'll notice there are a lot of netting areas where you kind of walk across rope and net, and I did not feel comfortable walking across those, because even back when this place was open, I was sketched out by those, but now that it's been 10 plus years of rotting, I did not want to risk falling through. Now you'll notice there's, all your classic water park things, such as little water guns off to the side that you can use to spray people, little buckets that fill up with water that you could dump on people. You also notice we have areas with stairs that go up to the higher slides and things like that. So we don't really go any further since everything else does require a net to walk over to get across. Now, one thing that you may or may not have noticed, and hopefully I will show it off again, is that there is a giant bucket on the top here, and basically that would fill up with water, and once it got so full, it would sound out an alarm, if I remember correctly, to let you know it was about to dump, and then it would dump the water all over the people standing underneath it, and everyone loved that when I was a kid. Now, one thing I will say is that I did learn through watching another Urban Explorer video. They climbed up to the bucket. The bucket was mostly hollow and did not fill up all the way. So you basically got way less water than it looked like you were getting. So down that hallway were some bathrooms and changing rooms. There's a storage room, and then here is the water park marshal, which seemed to be the supervisor slash head. And as you can see, it is just an office and is completely torn apart. Now there was a sign here that said um, if a manager can be seen on post, so can a supervisor slash head guard. So it does seem like maybe they had some staffing issues in the end that required management to actually go out and be lifeguards. You also probably got a good glimpse of that bucket up there that I was talking about earlier. Now here is the Sidewinder Cafe. And as a reminder, this closed down at the end of the year 2015. At the end of their season, they did not get their license renewed for 2016. And as you can see, at the end of 2015, they were charging $10.50 for chicken tenders, which is insane. That is an insane price, even by today's standards. But back then, that was even more insane. Now, here is one of the Western photos that was taken here. And this does connect directly to the old arcade area. So basically, this is where you would have your arcade games. You could win tickets and, of course, get prizes. Unfortunately, all the arcade games are gone. Here's part of the office here. As you can see, everything's pretty empty. There are some linking logs, not Lincoln logs, linking logs on the ground here. So, yeah. So this is also where you would take those old Western photos. This part on the ground here would have been the green screen area for those. But again, it is crashed down on the ground. And basically, the rest of this area is empty. You can see where you used to be able to get the prizes and stuff, but they are, of course, all gone. And, of course, all the arcade games are gone. Now, these do connect to the party rooms slash cabana areas. So if you were having a party here, you would be able to go back and forth, it seems like. Now, one of the interesting things about this area is that even though this whole place is Western themed, the arcade seemingly had a space theme, at least for the carpet. And I do love that carpet quite a lot. Now, as we walk out here, you're also going to notice that there are like fake minecart tracks that go into the arcade down the hallway. And there was also a gold panning section here that may be kind of hard to see. But basically, this is where you could pan for gold, quote unquote. Mostly you'd get like little bags of dirt and you would pan for little gems in the dirt. So this has been the water park section. Now, there was a central section that was a 12-story hotel tower, part of the original structure. We did not get to see the inside of that because it was fully blocked off except for the first floor. I can show you a little bit of the main lobby. Sadly, that is a vertical video, but let's go ahead and take a look at that. So the main lobby was still in pretty great condition and was absolutely stunning and beautiful. I mean, just look at how amazing this looks. And now we are going to continue on from the lobby down the hall to the old restaurant here. Now, this seemed to be set up in a buffet style. As we walk around, you're going to see all the little self-serve areas. There are actually signs at the top that tell you, ice cream, dessert, fruits, vegetables, salad, things like that. And then it did seem like this place may have had a version of what we called concepts at OU, where basically each one of these areas would have its own theme. So, one was probably like American style, like hot dogs and hamburgers, fried chicken, stuff like that. And then we do know that there was a Asian slash Chinese area that we will see in a bit. And you'll actually see influences of it back in this kitchen. So here is the kitchen area. It is kind of trash, but not too bad. One thing you may have noticed back in the main area was all the plates on the floor because someone felt the need to come in and smash a ton of plates. Now, here are the calendars from the last time it was in operation. Now, a lot of people say that this place closed in 2016, which I think is technically right. However, from what we can find, the last time it was actually in use was in December of 2015, and then it closed down for the 2016 season. So, although it technically wasn't closed until 2016, I don't think anyone actually ever came and stayed in 2016. I think that's just when the official close date was. So, here we are looking out into part of the restaurant, and we are continuing on over here, and we're about to enter that Chinese slash Asian food themed area. You can see that the lanterns here are more themed to that. So this is definitely where, you would have found the Asian food when going through the buffet here. Now, in here is one of the conference rooms. Now, I'm not sure that this is the conference room that they used for the movie, but it does look exactly like it, so it could have been. Now, in case you are curious, I did check, and when this was open, it did sell Coke products, not Pepsi, which is interesting because in the water park area, the DB Sidewinders Cafe seemed to serve Pepsi because there were lots of Pepsi cups and stuff there. Now you can also see there is a drop ceiling in here, but they did use some fancy tiles to try to make it look a bit better. Here is where the waitress stand was, probably where you would check in, possibly make reservations if those were needed. And then across the hall here is the bar area. So this could have been where parents could have gotten a drink while they left their kids unsupervised. There were also TVs in here, so people could watch sports games, get a drink, stuff like that. And there is a cactus here, most definitely a fake one. And you'll also see that there are still some Fort Rapid uniforms here, which is kind of interesting and cool. So this is what people would have worn while working here. So now with this section out of the way, we are going to go into the villas section. Now, not to be confused with the 12-story hotel tower, which unfortunately we could not get into, the villas are actually a building at the very far end of the property, just past the restaurant area. Now, these are the more high-end hotel rooms. In fact, most of them I would personally consider suites, depending on, which room you were in and which location in the villas. Your room could include a full kitchen, a washer and dryer, full fridge, full microwave, or even some of them had 2 stories in them. Now, what also makes this part of the building unique is that it was the least trashed, and there were areas that still had power, a few rooms that still had water, and at least 2 rooms that still had working heat. Now, just as a reminder, at this point, the building had been abandoned for almost 10 years, yet this area still had working utilities, which is quite weird. And in fact, the real estate agent who was part of approving the sale of the building said that they weren't even sure that the 5 outlets that they had back in the day were still working. So it did seem like people were unaware that the power was still on in the building, which means they were probably also unaware that the water was still on. Now you'll also notice some weird things, such as this lawnmower that for some reason was being stored inside the building. And as we get further on, you'll also notice things such as a propane grill and just lots of other weird stuff stored in the building. Now, it should be said that just prior to us exploring this building, there was an environmental survey of the building that found that there was improper use of extension cords, improper storage of flammable objects, which I'm guessing was probably the propane grill and also probably the lawnmower, since if it had gas, it would be flammable, and did call this building a fire risk, which is some foreshadowing. Now you'll notice that a lot of these rooms are open, um, and you'll even notice, for example, such as this one, that they will have lights on in them still. Now, what's very interesting about this room in particular is that right here on the bed is the map of the fire sprinkler system, which was not in operation and was actually one of the things they got cited for during that environmental survey. Again, a little foreshadowing. Now, you'll see my friend over here trying one of the TVs, and honestly, this is quite an old TV back for even 2015, but you can see it's still turned on, which was really interesting and cool. Um, this room did, of course, have a light on in it, and you can see that this room kind of had a little kitchen area, but not a full one. So again, here is just a look at those fire sprinkler systems. And there was also some sort of pipe there used for drugs, because of course there was. So now we're going to head back out into the main hallway, and we are going to continue on with our exploration. Now, I should say that at one point we did find a hotel key card in the building, and just for fun, we did put it in one of the key card slots to see if it would work. And while we were in fact denied entry into the room, it did light up red, showing that not only did it read the card, but the card reader still worked. Now, this is one of the rooms that had a full kitchen, full bar, which you can see, and even had a fireplace and a cutout for, again, these incredibly old TVs, even for 2015. And as you can see, there are, of course, lights on in this room. And this horrible, horrible cow print bathroom wallpaper. Now, if I do remember correctly, this was one of the rooms where the heat was still running. So actually, as we entered this part of the room, the heater kicked on, which was very interesting, very weird. But as you can see, other than some, minor stuff, such as, the bed being unfolded and some stuff on the floor, this room is still in incredible condition. So, there we are, back into the hallway as we continue our exploration. Now, I will say this area did feel so sketchy because of how good of condition it was in. I just kind of assumed that there had to be someone living in here somewhere, and there were definitely signs that at some point someone had been living in there. However, I'm not sure how recent it would have been. Now, as we come down here towards the end, these two rooms were some of the handicap rooms. So you briefly see that button there where an individual with disabilities could use that button to open and close the door. Unfortunately, these rooms were not open. But we are going to now continue on, and we are going to continue up to the second floor of the villas. Now, if you did happen to see the reports about what happened here, you will hear them call this the tower. I personally would not consider this a tower. I would consider the 12-story part of the hotel the tower. So I think that's a little bit misleading. Here is one of the propane grills that we saw. And now we are heading up to the second floor. Now, this did kind of freak me out personally, because as we got up here to the second floor and we took a look in the window here, and you will see briefly in a second, but all the lights in the hallway were on up here. And personally, I was a bit hesitant to continue on because I was worried that meant that there was someone up here, but my friend said that we were already here, we might as well try it, and you know what, they were completely right. So after a second to make sure that the coast was clear and that the coast was safe, we did continue on into this hotel section, the second floor. And here you go. You can see down the hallway with all the lights on, kind of like a Shining situation is how I feel about it. And now here, in my opinion, are the even more impressive suites, because not only do they have, multiple beds and multiple rooms, but they also have upstairs sections. So, as you can see, you come in, there's two beds, just like a normal hotel room, but then you can go up here to the second floor, and there was an even bigger bed. I'm guessing this would have been a king size bed, maybe California king. Still the same ugly wallpaper, but. And yeah, they had this second story loft type things, which were really cool. Now, I will say that this room in particular didn't have like the full kitchen slash bar setup that the one downstairs had, which felt like a bit of a letdown, because with how much room and space there was in this room, you think they would have had that. And again, just these old televisions that were outdated even when this place would have been in operation. Here is a room off to the side, so someone could have their own private room. Honestly, this is probably like the room that the parents would put themselves in, and they would probably just bring a gaggle of kids with them and let the kids fight over which beds they wanted out there. So now, as we continue out here, we are going to continue down this Shining style hallway. Again, as you can see, it is super clean up here. With the lights on, there are some areas of the drop ceiling missing. And as we get later on, you'll see areas where like there used to be probably vending machines and stuff that were removed at some point. But this is so relatively clean compared to the rest of the building. Especially when you see how much graffiti was in that water park section, when you see how broken down the restaurant is, and then there were areas in between, such as a little gift shop that we didn't get video of, where it was just kind of completely trashed, but this area was in such good condition. And so here we are entering one of the other rooms. This was a very dark room. You can see that they just kind of piled a bunch of furniture in here. Lots of couches, lots of mattresses just piled in there. So now we are going to continue on down the hallway. Now, I will say that while we were exploring this area, we did smell gas in the building. And at one point, there was even written on the wall, "No open flames, possible gas leak." Now, this is not the only area in the building that we smelled gas in. We also smelled gas in a staff area that was behind the water park, where they would have washed the linens and stuff. And in my opinion, that area actually had a much stronger gas scent. However, this area also did have one. So, as we walk here, we're going to see some of the old machines. Now, it's very hard to see right there, but that was an old ice cream machine. So, they did used to just have machines that dispensed ice cream in the hallways here. And as you can see, it is relatively dark in here now, in this particular location. But we did continue on exploring this location. There were lots of rooms, lots of them were open. This is actually the area where the gas leak spray paint was. You may have noticed it on that wall there. I didn't get a good look at it with the camera, and I really wish I did. But my friend did get some photos of it. And again, here is just another hotel room where it looks like they kind of just threw stuff in for storage, which is kind of interesting. Definitely a big fire hazard. Again, some foreshadowing. And as we continue down the hallways of this area, you'll notice it's a lot of the same, being honest. It is a hotel. It wasn't meant to look super unique in every room. It was meant to have a place for people to stay, to make them money. Now, as I mentioned, there was a lot of foreshadowing in this video. Shortly after our exploration, um, a section of the villa's building caught fire. So this actually happened extremely late at night, close to midnight. Luckily, no one was in the building that people are aware of, and no one was hurt. At the time of recording this, the cause of the fire is unknown. However, I'm sure by the time that this actually comes out, they hopefully will have determined the cause of the fire. Our personal opinion is that it is probably one of those several factors mentioned in the video, such as, storing a lawnmower or propane grill inside, not having a working fire suppression system, improper use of extension cords, or even, just a freak accident from the power still being on in a building that has been uninhabited for so long. But of course, at this time of recording anyway, the official cause is not known. I'm sure by the time that this comes out, they have probably determined a cause. Now, this building was in the process of being sold to a new developer. At the time of recording, that is kind of up in the air. He is still hoping on buying the building, but wants a discount. Hopefully, this building does sell and can be used for something new. I am extremely grateful we got the opportunity to see inside of it and document it before this fire happened and before whatever renovations take place. This has been our exploration of the abandoned Fort Rapids Indoor Water Park in Columbus, Ohio. This was a location I went to a few times as a kid and always held a lot of nostalgia for me, and I'm so glad I got to see it and document it in its abandoned state. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up, please subscribe. I post videos exploring new places all the time. I also post urban legends, paranormal stuff, and historic stuff. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with a brand new video.